Are you thinking about moving to the Tucson area? Maybe you've heard of Catalina, not to be confused with the Catalina Foothills, the other Catalina. It's quiet, it's scenic, and it's a little bit more affordable. But is the quiet desert living all that it's cracked up to be? Well, in today's video, we're going to investigate the pros and cons of living in Catalina so you can get a better idea if it might be the right Tucson suburb for you. Let's get to it. If you're new to this channel and want to learn everything from A to Z about living in Tucson, AZ, then click subscribe and tap that bell for notifications so you can be the first to learn about the current market in Tucson, Arizona. Hi, I'm Dustin Smith. My wife Jennifer and I have helped hundreds of people like you move to and from Tucson, Arizona. So whether you're planning on moving in 12 days, 12 weeks, or 12 months, we got you covered. Give us a call, shoot us a text or an email so we can help you make that smooth move to Tucson. Today we are focusing in on Catalina. We'll start off by kind of talking about where it is, just so you have a general idea, especially so it doesn't get confused with the Catalina Foothills, which people sometimes do, especially if you're newer to the Tucson area. And then we'll get into, what are the benefits of Catalina? Why are people considering moving out there? What do people love about living out in the Catalina area? And then we'll get into the downsides, the things that you do not want to surprise you if you're moving to a Tucson suburb. So hopefully this is a great video for you if you're thinking about moving to different Tucson suburbs, or you're just interested in learning a little bit about the Tucson area. So let's go ahead and get started. Catalina is an unincorporated area northwest of Tucson. In fact, it's going to be north of Oro Valley, up against the Santa Catalina Mountains, stretching out to the Highway 77 or Oracle Road area, which is also going to be like east of Marana. So a lot of these homes and properties out here are actually going to have beautiful mountain views. Now, since you're getting further away from the city, further away from Oro Valley, where you have a ton of shopping and restaurants, things are going to start feeling more spread out, and there's going to be fewer things out there, but you do have a Bash's out there. One of my favorite barbecue places is out there. I tried recently, Bub's Grub. And if you're not familiar in Tucson, I think that Tucson has a curse when it comes to barbecue places. As soon as I find a barbecue place that I like, it seems like they don't last long. Like maybe it took me a little while to get there, and then they have like a year or two shelf life on them and they just disappear. And I know that can happen with a lot of different restaurants, but I love barbecue food. You have a lot of different like fast food options out there. So although it's starting to feel a little more rural, there still is a lot of stuff out there. There still is quite a few services, but you may find yourself commuting more towards the Oro Valley and the Tucson area for many things. Pro number one for Catalina, I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about the variety of housing options available in the area. So you're a little bit further away from the city, but you do have those familiar tract home type communities with similar build types throughout, neighborhood park, not too far away from grocery stores. But you do also have a lot of homes that are on acreage out there. So the area has been slowly developed. You're gonna have a lot of unique properties on varying acreage out there. A lot of horse property as well. So depending on where you're going, there could be an opportunity to own horses or have horses nearby if you enjoy that. You have new build luxury community out there. You have a new build tract home community out there. You have raw land. If you feel like buying a piece of land and building your own home, it might be an area that's worth looking into as well. Pro number two I put for the Catalina area is actually going to be housing prices. So tying right into the variety of options. So for the neighboring suburbs, I pulled up 6 months worth of data, compared that to Catalina. So Catalina Foothills around the southern side of the Catalina Mountains had an average sales price of $791,000 for the last 6 months. And if we go to Oro Valley, which is basically between the Catalina Foothills and Catalina, their average sales price is at $663,000 for the last 6 months. And then when we jump up to Catalina, drops dramatically down to the $467,000 average price range. So yeah, if you want to save a few bucks, it might actually be worth looking out in that area. Your money's going to go a little bit further out there. Maybe it's not that you're necessarily trying to save money. Maybe it's that you're trying to get more property for your home. Maybe it's that you're trying to get more home for your money. Catalina is going to be a good area to look to check those boxes. All right, pro number 3 I put here is not going to be for everyone, but it's definitely going to be an advantage to some people, and that's going to be access to Charouleau Gap. This is a very famous 4x4 trail for the Tucson area. Very challenging, very rewarding. And you know, it's quite likely you go out there, you're having a good time and you have a problem. It's very likely that someone's going to be by to offer assistance to you to help you out on that. Don't lean on that too much. That's just my experience. Although I haven't done Charouleau Gap, I've done Reddington plenty of times, Reddington being on the opposite end of town over in the Tanca Verde area. And you know, funny enough, I was like a teenager out there with one of my buddies, and I was actually with Jennifer at the time too. So, you know, we had our ladies with us. We were in like a stock Jeep Grand Cherokee. I don't even think it had all-terrain tires on it. So we went down, we cruised around everywhere, had a blast. There was running water down there. On the way out though, on the way up the hills, we had 3 blowouts in very inconvenient spots. I can't tell you the number of people that stopped to help us out, and it being like a night 4x4 trail ride too, there was just a lot of people out there doing the same thing, enjoying that, and a lot of helpful people. So yeah, 3 blowouts. We were with somebody else that was able to provide us our second spare tire, but it was actually like just a random, you know, good citizen out there that offered us our 3rd tire. We ended up having to have somebody hook a chain up and pull us out too. Still a ton of fun. I don't think there's a true adventure without some misadventure to it. So yeah, that's a fun one for the memory books. So if you prefer to be on foot and experience stuff too, Catalina is going to have a ton of hiking options out there. In fact, near the trailhead for Charouleau Gap, there's trails that connect into the Catalina Mountains, major trails that weave you all the way through to like the Sabino Canyon and Rincon Mountain area. So, I mean, really the sky is going to be the limit out there. If you want some shorter hikes, of course, you're a short drive away from Catalina State Park. That's a fun one. You'll hear me talk about that all the time if you watch our channel. Romero Pools is my favorite trail over in there, especially if we get some good water flowing. And, you know, speaking of water flow, if you go to the north of Catalina, you know, stay on that Highway 77, it's going to run along the San Pedro River eventually. The San Pedro River does, you know, cut along the north side of the Catalina Foothills, Santa Catalina Mountains, sorry. So, you know, that's not going to necessarily come into the Tucson area, but there's so like many cool like hiking and camping spots or scenic spots right along the San Pedro River. It'll probably be an area that you want to go explore and go see. So pro number 5, I mentioned it's scenic out there. You do have beautiful desert scenery all around you. You have saguaros, you have ocotillos, prickly pears, you have beautiful rock formations out there. But really, I mean, a lot of people think of Tucson, they think of the mountains. So yes, Catalina is going to have beautiful mountain views at a more affordable price. So that's a pretty major one. So going on to pro number 6, again, this one's not for everybody, but I think it is an advantage of being in that area. Now, we've done videos where we've talked about, you know, people will travel like 3.5 hours to go to the lake. Well, when you're up in the Catalina area, you are like in the basically one of the furthest northwest suburbs of Tucson. You're already at the Highway 77 right there. So it's really about just over 2 hours to Roosevelt Lake, which is a larger lake. Great for camping, plenty of space out there, plenty of space for water sports, for fishing, and then that actually joins up to Apache Lake too, which is one of our favorite lakes in Arizona. I mean, that lake is gorgeous. It's surrounded by cliffs. The camping is a little more spread out. There's actually some shade trees down there. Roosevelt's a little bit harder to find some shade. That'll be one of my criticisms is Roosevelt. Apache being the smaller of the lakes, you kind of make that trade-off. But Apache is really not a small lake, especially for Arizona. So my final pro number 7 for Catalina, is actually gonna be that it's just a little less dense as far as the population goes. Things are a little more spread out. It hasn't been a very fast growing suburb. Now there's neat things that have popped up in there like Saddlebrook and a few of the developments around there, but you still have a ton of like properties with acreage out there too, which generally just make the place feel a little more open, a little more room to breathe out there. All right, what are we missing about Catalina, right? What are the hangups, the downsides? So let's get right into the cons. So con number one, and this one's probably obvious, already mentioned, is the limited shopping out there. Now you do have a lot of your everyday needs out there. You have a grocery store, gas stations, you know, a bunch of like different like automotive, small shops like that, some fast food restaurants. But for some bigger ticket items, you might find yourself commuting. If you need to go to Home Depot, you're gonna be going down to Oro Valley, which isn't too bad. You know, I think Catalina to Oro Valley, those two join up. So I think even from the further parts of Catalina, you're about 20 minutes away from like that Home Depot and shopping plaza for that. Costco is gonna be off in your Marana area. That's probably going to be closer to about 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes from most areas of Catalina. And you know, same kind of thing. If you need to go to doctor's offices, especially specialists, you're going to find yourself going to, you know, Oro Valley or into the Tucson area. So a little bit more commute times for that kind of stuff. But whenever you're kind of picking one of those, you know, suburbs, and the further away that you get from the town center, you know, you kind of expect those things, but still a major one I wanted to prepare you for. All right, con number two, this isn't a big one for everybody, but less community amenities. So a lot of people that end up looking in Catalina started off their search in the Oro Valley area. And Oro Valley has, you know, golf courses, but they also have the Oro Valley Aquatic Center. So, you know, beautiful pool, you have, you know, fitness center in there, community rooms. And that, you know, Oro Valley is an incorporated town of its own. So you do have a lot more things when it comes to that in Oro Valley or other parts of Tucson than you may have in Catalina. All right, con number three, another obvious Tucson one right here. It is still hot. So Catalina may be a little bit cooler than some of the Tucson forecasts that you see out there, especially stuff coming from the airport. It'll be a few degrees cooler, but we're reaching high temperatures around 115 degrees in the Tucson area, and Catalina is only going to be a couple degrees off from that. So, you know, I typically say, you know, anything over 90 is hot. You know, drink water, find shade, you know, plan your trips accordingly. So they're not going to change that with Catalina. All right, con number four. Now this is kind of a flip side of one of the pros that we talked about. Now there's a lot of housing options out there. So a lot of like mixed housing out there, right? So you could be looking at a luxury home out in the Catalina area, and next door you have that, you know, homeowner that doesn't have a homeowners association. You know, they moved out there and they have a bunch of project vehicles out there, or, you know, maybe they're not taking care of their house. Or maybe like I grew up with horses, so this one doesn't really bother me. But I've also heard people say like, man, I don't like the smell of horses, or horses attract flies. You're gonna have some horse properties out there too. So maybe you found the perfect property, but one of those things is a deal breaker to you. You know, that could be one of the challenges of Catalina. I know I'm falling a little bit short here. Now this is gonna be con number five, and it's gonna be our final con of the day. Now, I probably could have come up on more, but I don't like nitpicking on an area over things that really don't matter to most people. So con number five is gonna be wildlife. And I know this is actually a pro to a lot of people too. People love seeing desert wildlife or just wildlife in general, but I know a lot of people do have their concerns about wildlife, and Catalina is gonna be no exception to that. So I have been to Catalina countless times, and I have seen countless deer out there. And whenever you see deer, you're typically gonna have some of their predators nearby. So yeah, you're probably gonna have some mountain lions out there. You're definitely gonna have some coyotes out there. And you know what they say about mountain lions is, you know, they've seen you long before you've ever seen them. So you'll see some trailheads where they actually warn you, you know, not to hike by yourself and what to do in the event of seeing a mountain lion. I think that's just good information for hikers in general. It's very rare that somebody ever gets attacked by it, but you know, you kind of want to know these things, at least for peace of mind on there. And then there's smaller things too that I think are quite understandable, especially if you haven't lived in Tucson or lived in an area that have these kind of things before. So, you know, rattlesnakes, we're close to the mountains. You're going to have more foliage out there. You're going to have more opportunities for like, you know, some more rodents out there. Again, You know, you got their predators out there, you're gonna have snakes, you're gonna see the occasional rattlesnake. You don't wanna step on a rattlesnake, and a rattlesnake doesn't want you to step on them too, which is a big part of why they have those rattles. But always watch where you're stepping, especially when you're out there hiking. Rattlesnakes are, you know, most likely to be seen at the early hours after the sun goes down, or right as the sun is coming up. Like 2 weeks ago, I did a few jogs. I ended up seeing 3 rattlesnakes over the course of a couple days. You can see them well before you're about to step on them. And I'm at a jog too, so I'm moving a little bit quicker, and I'm jogging in those evening hours. So I was able to find them. I have faith that most of you guys are going to be able to see those as well. That wraps up our Catalina pros and cons video for the day. But if you think there's something we missed, good or bad, about Catalina, we're interested in what you have to say. Throw that in the comments, and we'll try to use that in our next Catalina pros and cons, or next time we talk about Catalina. So yeah, thank you guys for watching today's video. If you or someone you know is thinking about moving to or from Tucson, Arizona, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, shoot us a text or an email. Contact information is in the description below. And if you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, click subscribe, tap that bell for notifications. We'll keep you updated on the current market in Tucson, Arizona, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.